With Lauren Harbeck. Thank you for joining our webinar today on goals that make sense. And we just did a poll on LinkedIn, and you all said that you actually, if you were going to attend an in-person event, what would make the most sense? And goal setting was number one for everybody. So if that is you, and you probably registered and couldn't join us live today, that's okay. We're going to go ahead and send you the recording. But goal setting and goals that make sense is a huge hot topic. So Lauren, I'm going to go ahead and give the floor to you and talk about why are we here today and what are we hoping to accomplish?
Yeah, goal setting, as I've said before, I'm super nerdy, love goal setting, because
Yeah.
this is the answer to all businesses' problems,
Yeah.
and quite frankly, personal. But
Yeah.
why are we here today, right? I think if everybody closed their eyes right now, could envision success and what that looks like to them. If you were really to think about, hey, what do I want to accomplish by the end of this year, even though there's a few weeks left in 2024, or what do I want to accomplish next year? I mean, the vision is probably pretty standard, and I mean, not very uncommon from person to person. So, we have a couple of bullet points on this slide, right? Teams working together, innovation, top of your game, revenues up, your team is all on the same page, and all of your measurable goals, everything on paper looks fantastic, right? Those are just some bullet points, but I think that vision would be the same for everybody.
I
And
think
throughout today, we're going to give you a great foundation, but I don't think 25 minutes does goal setting justice, right?
it
Goal
does.
setting is done right, can lead you to mountains of success.
I completely agree, Lauren. And so for everybody that's joining us today, we'll go ahead and send out the recording. You'll get the deck, right? All that good stuff. Because Lauren and I are going to do a little bit of voiceover. So with this, right? And so to what Lauren is talking about, actual goal setting is a mental exercise. And I don't know about you, but when I was going through school, high school, college, and even now, mental preparedness beats doing preparedness. Study after study after study shows if I have a group of individuals and I section them into three groups, one that does mental exercises, mental preparation for free throw shooting, actual practicing free throw shooting, and people that do nothing, the group that did the mental preparation for free throw shooting does better than the other two groups. So what Lauren is talking about is actually getting into goal setting and goals that make sense to help you dive deeper and can lay the foundation, right? So talking about what is goal writing, why do we have them anyway? And then of course, how do we execute? So Lauren, talk a little bit about what we're looking at here and what people should kind of take away.
Absolutely. I think first we've got to understand what is goal writing. What is it as a whole? It sets a clear path for our team. It defines what success is. It gives you the starting and ending point. I don't think anybody joining this webinar today would say that these are things that they didn't already know.
Mhm.
We're not Indiana Jones here. We didn't uncover something in a lost cave somewhere, but we all struggle to do it,
Yeah.
right? Um, and if we have great goals and great goals in place, results are not just achievable, they're inevitable. They're not achievable, they're inevitable, right?
Yeah.
Um, so we have to understand what it is and why we want to do it, Dion, right? And it's
Yeah.
it's what you've always said, right? That North Star.
It is, and it's the purpose, right? How many of you, and even if you're home alone or you're home with the dogs, like Lauren and I are individually, right? Every time I've written a goal and thought it through, I have achieved it, which made me go, huh, maybe I should have harder goals, right? So when we're thinking about that, it's also the structure of that goal. So here at Inside Sales by Design, we always talk about purpose. What is our purpose? I'm not talking about some canned mission statement. I'm talking about a purpose that gets people's hearts beating faster and their blood pumping. It speaks to them, right? So, Lauren, talk a little bit about what does it look like to structure a good goal?
Yeah, and the structure is so important, or else you get these really weird goals that are written on paper. Like I'm going to read a book in the next three
Yeah.
months. I'm like, woo. We talked a little bit about that on LinkedIn Live. But if we have this worksheet, and you can find similar ones
Yep.
everywhere, but ours is right here at your fingertips, and this just gives you a great overview of what the structure should be, because really what it does at the end of the day, it's all about accountability. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. The
Yeah,
structure of a good goal gives your team accountability, because a goal without accountability is pencil whipping. And we'll talk about that in the next few slides.
I love that phrase. I'm going to call out a little bit too here in my really amazing annotation capabilities. Setting and aligning your goals from top down, right? Otherwise, we feel like we are working in a vacuum and it doesn't work at the end of the day, right? Nobody wants that. We want to work together. As James Bennett said in our Maximizing Revenue webinar series, there is a loneliness epidemic right now. And goal setting can help alleviate the loneliness that is, quite frankly, a huge concern right now. So making sure that we are connected and goals that make sense. So if I've got my SDR who's coming in and listening to a town hall with the executive team, our goals should bridge the gap of that executive message and what our SDR is doing at the front lines, right? So hopefully that makes sense for everybody. All right, so let's dive into this. So what goes into good goal setting? What is our recipe for success?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got good goals, then your team's inspired. They're tackling the problems that you need to solve. Because really, at the end of the day, if you're executive leadership, and that's that top down you were just talking about, right? Like, you're setting the clear message. You're like, hey, this is what our company set out to do. This is what's important to us, and this is what we want to achieve. In the next 3 months, 6 months, so on and so forth. It's up to your team to figure out the how. And good goal setting is all about giving the mission, right? So as the goals get closer to the consumer, or closer to the product or the experience, whatever you want to call it in your business, it doesn't matter. It applies to everybody. The goals get more specific.
Yep.
The how gets more specific, but it's not up to you as an executive leadership team to figure out the how. It's up to you to give them the what.
100%.
What do we want to do, right? And if you have great goal setting, this is where I said there's so much to it, and there's so much to the program.
Yep.
Writing the goal is just the tip of the iceberg. Great goals have mentor programs, have development,
Yep.
have promotional paths. Like,
Yep.
it's unending. We could talk about goals, me and you, for the next 2 hours.
100%, 100%, right? And so for everybody listening, again, that's really where we're going with this. And we don't want to boil the ocean with this, right? We don't want you to leave our time today going, holy cow, I don't have anything in place, because that's not true either, right? And so it doesn't matter where you are, you can write those goals. And then to what Lauren was talking about, is goal setting is part of an overall larger program. That's a promotion path, that's networking, that ties to a mission, that ties to personal professional goals, right? So this is the tip of the spear of a conversation that is going to last the entire year. And oh, by the way, when we think about this too, this is also why people get frustrated with annual reviews, because maybe annual reviews aren't tied to anything else. And then we don't feel like our manager cares about anything, or our leader cares about anything, right? And so this is what happens when we have bad goal setting or none, right? People want to be seen and heard, and they want to have agency over their life. We are all adults, at least legally and by age. So we need to make sure that we are treating everybody that way. And to what Lauren is saying, as leaders, we give our teams the guidelines and really expect them to fill in the how and want them to take ownership of that. Lauren, thoughts on this? Additional thoughts?
Oh, hands down. People want to be valued.
100%.
At the end of the day, like, value is such a huge word for your people. And if they have great goals, and they're contributing to the business's success, you are giving them so much more, right, than just a goal on a piece of paper. They're contributing, they feel valued. If you don't have that, to your point, Dee, high turnover, people are going to go. There's no clear message. They have no idea what's going on. They're not working together. When people walk in and don't know what their area of responsibility is, and their day to day, and how they contribute to the business's success from any position within your organization,
Yeah.
then you're going to sink your ship, right? And that's that pencil whipping thing too. You can have goals in place. You can say, oh, my team's writing goals.
Yeah.
I know a few businesses that would probably say right now, oh, my team's
Yeah, we've
writing
got them.
goals.
Yeah.
but there's so much more to it that we'll get into, right? That follow-up component.
Absolutely. And I think it's goals, yes, but how does your team feel about it? Right. Otherwise, I do enjoy Yellowstone, and Beth in there just is one of my favorite characters for probably all the wrong reasons. Right. But she says to one of her nemesis, she says, I will ride you into the ground like a broke ass mule. Right. And if we don't have, I'm not doing it justice. I'm sure somebody's going to go YouTube it right now. Right. But bad goals, that's how our team feels, right? They feel like we're just riding to glory on the backs of their calling efforts. So we need to make sure that we've got these things in line. We spent a lot of time talking about the why and what goes into a good goal, and the why behind it and the heart behind it. Because good goals marry the quantitative and qualitative that we need in our world these days. So, Lauren, let's dive into the why. We love purpose. Let's talk about it.
Hands down. And I mean, we were covering that a little bit with the what,
Mhm.
right? You know,
Yep.
what is goal setting? What does it do for our organization? What does it do for our business? And, why do we want to have them? Because your team needs to understand that there is something to achieve and something to do, or else they are going to be running into a wall. They are going to
Yeah.
be a broken Roomba with nowhere to go and no sense of direction, right?
Spinning in circles. Yeah.
So, why do we have goals?
Yeah.
Because they all need to know what the plan is. Nobody's a mind reader.
100%. It's the
Nobody
only course
understands
I've
what's
ever taken.
happening in your boardrooms. Nobody knows that, right? Which leads into this next piece, Steve, which is what you were talking about earlier, that top-down goal setting.
Yeah. Yeah. And really too, that's a big key here, right? I know we're really pressing into some of these topics, and we're probably reiterating ourselves here. But a lot of the times for those of us that have been doing and in the business and in the chair for longer than 10 years, I don't know about you, but there are certain things I don't remember learning, right? And so some of our team members that are coming up in their career are learning something that you forgot you already knew, right? And so that's not bad, but we need to make sure that we are aware of that from an executive leadership perspective. And I know for myself, like when I give a topic or I'm going to go do something, I am off to the races and I'm good to go. That doesn't make me a leader. That makes me somebody who can go fast and go alone. Whereas if I want to go far, I go together with my team. Right. And so we need to make sure that it's not that people aren't smart and they can't do those things. Right. It's that we need to make sure, to Lauren's point, we are guiding and giving guardrails and being very deliberate and intentional and specific with what we're doing and how we're doing it and how we're relaying it to our teams. For example, being able to say, we are going to go after a new total addressable market. That is a huge undertaking and really should probably be your only other strategic initiative for at least 2 quarters, right? So that's and now as an executive, I would do that, but I would have that running on autopilot in the back of my head, and I would do 30,000 other things, probably with my undiagnosed ADHD, right? So, Lauren, talk a little bit about kind of how as a leader, maybe some nuggets and wisdom we would think about this.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about you talk. So it wouldn't people overthink goals. That's what
Yeah,
I was starting to think about when
yeah,
you were talking there, these huge undertakings, right? We overthink them and we give our
yes,
team too much to do.
yeah,
And it really boils down to expectations.
yeah.
To your point, where am I in my journey versus where is the person I am speaking with in their journey, and being respectful of where they are in their
Yep.
journey, and understanding how they contribute differently to where you are going. You,
Mhm.
as a leader with 20 plus years of experience, have different contributions than the person coming up who hasn't learned what you've learned yet. Everybody has a role, everybody has a purpose, and to be quite frankly, most of that middle management or lower level management will probably have the same goal, and
Mhm.
that's okay. They're all going to be working towards raising sales, but maybe tackling it in different ways. But we just can't overthink it. We can't have expectations of ourselves on our team,
That
if
is
that
a
makes sense.
really, really, really good point as far as kind of the projection of it, right? Is being other centered with it. Number one. And number two to that is we are selling internally. I actually said that to a VP of sales who I was working with, where I said, you are selling internally. when you are onboarding, when you are guiding people through goals, right? Like you need to model your sales approach, right? Because right now your ICP is your SDR who has 2 years of experience and you're guiding them through goal setting, right? So to Lauren's point is like make sure that when the person sitting across from us, right, or the other side of the camera from us, we're having the appropriate conversation, right? We're meeting that person where they are at the end of the day. So let's and value the contribution they're going to be bringing. And I love this picture of the little figure here. So it cracks me up. We have some weird, Lauren and I have kind of a funky sense of humor. So, but I'm okay with that. I enjoy a weird sense of humor,
I think
right?
we need that,
So,
right? We can't take ourselves too seriously.
you know what? It's that post from Adam Grant where it's like we got to laugh at ourselves. It doesn't mean we don't work hard. It doesn't mean we don't take our results and our work seriously. But at the end of the day, come on now, everybody. Here's what we're doing, right? So, Lauren, I know you love this slide, so walk us through it.
I do love this slide because I think football, it's in everybody's head, right? But when you have a plan for success, Dee and I always talk about it at Inside Sales by Design. You have to start with the end in mind. And I used
Yeah.
football as an example because I mean, who doesn't watch football? But you have to understand, hey, like the touchdown's my goal, right? Then you have to understand, like, how do I get a touchdown? Like, if I want to get a touchdown, how do I get a touchdown? Well, I got to run the ball down the field, right? Okay, so I've got that. Now you can articulate a plan. I want to get a touchdown. I'm going to get a touchdown by running the ball down the field. I'm going to do that by passing to so and so,
Yep.
right? Who's going to run it,
Running the play.
and run the play. And I love this slide because it's just a clear path to understanding what success is and how to take the backwards motion,
Yeah.
right? Because if you don't understand where you're going,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know, like, how do you put your directions in?
Yeah, you don't, right? Anybody GPS, right, is a really clear example where if I don't know where I'm going, or maybe I want to know how long it's going to take me to get there or the shortest route, I have to have my destination in mind, right? And so one of the things we'll share with you at the end here, we've got as always, we've got a little freebie for everybody, right? Is our annual plan. And we encourage everybody that, yeah, you're going to have some goals for next year. But typically, we march towards those goals very specifically, very deliberately, very intentionally for the first 2 quarters of the year, and then we need to course correct as we get more information, because sometimes we might have a great idea, but you know what, maybe the market doesn't like our idea, or maybe the market does like our idea if we're going to be positive about it, right? So we always say, hey, your goals are probably going to be set in pencil or in pen. Your first 2 quarters are in pen, and then your last 2 quarters are in pencil, meaning you're going to use an eraser, right? So back in the day, pen wasn't erasable. So we're going to talk a little bit about driving results and managing people. We are big people, Lauren and I, right? Because a system is a system is a system. A system is a system is a system. A process is a process. A process makes driving in the United States of America one of the safest things to do. People who do not follow the rules of the road are the dangerous ones, right? So that's what we need to think about here is, do we have a system by which our people can up level and come into? Do we have a program by which they know unequivocally what is good, what is not good, expectations, what's negotiable, what's non-negotiable, right? And so very, very passionate about this topic, where if you are a leader going, my team isn't inspired, they're not doing what I've told them to do, my feedback to you is, have you been clear with your expectations? Right? Have you been clear with a programmatic approach? And maybe it's not you as a leader, you need to enlist help from your team as well. Lauren, go ahead and talk to us about this slide, please.
Yeah, I am a huge advocate for this part of goal setting because this is what eliminates pencil whipping.
Yeah.
This is what eliminates putting something on paper and just saying, "Oh yeah, I've done goal setting before."
Shoving it in a drawer until next year.
Um, Driving results is managing people. I have 6 things on this slide that me and Dion feel very passionately about. That are at the cornerstone. We feel like, obviously this list could keep going if you wanted to really dive deeper into it. But if you focused on these 6 things: motivating your team, giving them purpose, developing your team, letting them grow, being an active listener as a leader, take feedback, right? What Dion said, we're going to have to course correct. Accountability. If people say they're going to do something, then you need to make sure they're doing it, right? And me and a colleague of mine always said, constant gentle pressure. constant gentle pressure. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into this too, but you have to remind your team that you're there and you're paying attention
Yeah.
to what they're doing. And if they do something wrong or they misstep, or it's not, it's not this like growl at them, but constant gentle pressure just means, hey, I thought we were doing it this way, or hey, I thought. That's managing people. We're leaders.
Yeah.
We're developing them. We're giving them a new muscle memory. They're learning something new, like we said earlier. Be consistent.
Yeah.
You have to be consistent every day. Your message has to be consistent. And feedback to your team, use the 5-1 rule.
Yeah.
5 compliments to 1 feedback. Be genuine. Why is this important? This isn't the sandwich. This isn't the cookie, right?
Ugh.
I don't like the cookie. The new studies show the cookie doesn't work anyways.
Yeah.
But why do you want to do this? Because if you run around like a tyrant, no team's inspired.
Yeah.
If all you do is point out the wrong, they're not going to want to work for you, and they're not motivated, they're not inspired, and they're not going to want to do anything. So we feel at Inside Sales by Design that if you focus on these 6 things and driving results, you'll get results from the people.
Absolutely. And I think to what Lauren is saying too, like if you're going to give feedback to somebody, the other component of that is a couple of things. So bear with me here. When we teach, we have a course that we teach new SDRs and BDR teams called Anatomy of a Call. And part of that is creating your opener, communicating in 2 sentences and ask a question. Because what happens is why people are reluctant to pick up the phone and cold call is we work so hard on the opener. We forget that when people pick up the phone, we do the opener, we've got to actually walk through that door, right? And so being able to make a cold call and say, hi, this is Dion from Inside Sales by Design. The reason I'm calling you today is, and then walk through the door, right? So we're not going to say, hey, I know you're probably, do you have 15 minutes? No, it's, I know I interrupted you. We've got some stuff I think you're really going to enjoy. Let's talk 15 minutes from now. In the meantime, I'll send you some information that's going to be relevant. We need to take that same approach when we're giving feedback. Meaning, if I'm going to give somebody feedback to what Lauren was saying is like, hey, I thought our goal was X, Y, and Z. That doesn't necessarily seem to be happening. Give me your thoughts on why that's happening. Like, how do we solve the problem? We're not staying and announcing the problem. We are moving past announcing the problem and into problem solving. Right. And I think sometimes as managers, we're so afraid of conflict, right, that we don't press into that. And that is a huge miss. Whereas sometimes people know if they're screwing up or things aren't going well. So instead of robbing them of their dignity, what you want to be able to do is give them their dignity and make it easy for them to get out of their lizard brain and into their thoughtful brain and help you problem solve and help them get better. Lauren, thoughts?
I love all of that. I mean, I actually do a whole presentation on coaching for development
Yeah.
and what you were talking about, because we do get afraid. We get afraid of conflict, or we let our emotions run the conversation, to your point, and we just start chasing people down, and we're just dragging them down to the ground further.
Yes.
Nobody wakes up and says, hey, let me go to work today and suck.
Yes. That
I
is
don't
true.
care who you are. I don't know anybody who does, unless they're intentionally trying to get fired or something, which I mean, like that's a whole nother can of worms. But people, I mean, I can't say it enough. People want to be part of something. They want to know that they are bringing value to the table. And if they're constantly working hard on the other side of that, right? On the other side of the feedback and being genuine, if they're constantly working hard, they're constantly driving results and you say nothing, it's just as bad.
100%, right? Acknowledge, 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 both the good and the bad, empathize and problem solve. Because again, people are waiting for you as a leader to say something, right? So when Lauren and I, or when I coach people, I always tell leaders, I'm like, you are that someone else. That's you, that's me.
Yeah.
Right? So we are that someone else. And so when we're thinking about it, what we're talking about is giving you a framework as well as a leader that you can actually use when you're coaching your people, right? So Lauren was saying we've got, this is part of when we work with our clients on onboarding programs and coaching programs. We're talking about a lot of the different modules, for lack of a better term, that go into it. Right. And so, Lauren, let's talk a little bit about this is some of our last slides here, right? We're talking about goals are a part of our culture and no one person can drive results. That is so true. Right. So, talk us through this a little bit.
Well, and this slide means a lot to me because too often as leaders, we feel like, I think, Dion, You're going to nod your head at this one. If it needs to be done right, I must do it myself.
Oh Lord. Oh yeah.
I feel that way when I clean my house. But here's the reality, right? I can't tell you how many business leaders I have coached that did not give up things they needed to give up to their team because they felt like they were the only ones that can do it, or I don't know if it was like a possessive thing, like I'm the leader, it's my job, I don't know what was going into that mindset, but I cannot tell you how many conversations and coaching conversations I've had where leaders cannot give up
Yeah.
tasks to their team and they're not developing their team to take over, right? I'm like, how are you going to drive the needle in your $5 million business by yourself?
Right. Right. Right.
You have 100 people in this building.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yes.
Right? This is a part of your culture. No one person can drive results. You have to get your team bought into what you're doing, right? Telling people what to do rarely works. I have that on the slide here. Telling people what to do rarely works in business. You have to get them bought in. You have to inspire, you have to motivate. We've said that, probably 24 times throughout this whole thing. But you have to develop and you have to give your team the chance to succeed, and you have to drive results as a team. When you are driving results as a team with everybody all together and it's a part of your culture and everybody's like, oh, I have to build sales and this is my role in that, and you give up that possessiveness, your success is inevitable, right? And that's why I just don't know why so many leaders are so stuck on this idea that they can't give it away.
Yeah.
You have to share opportunities and wins with your team. You have to let them go on that journey with you.
Yeah. I think, Lauren, it's a very normal emotion, right? Not a psychologist, but I'm just going to tell you, having done this a long time, every single call, literally 99.9% of the calls I'm on with clients and prospects, I get a lot of, Dion, you're like a sales therapist. I'm like, I know. Um, but a lot of it from a leadership perspective is, again, we want to do well too. We don't want to let our teams down. We don't want to let our boss down. We certainly don't want to get fired. And it's not, I don't think we always want the glory. There's some of that, right? But sometimes not being able to let go and make that transition is based in fear and scarcity. And I've said it 100 times, fear stands for false expectations appearing real. And it's very normal for us in a leadership role where maybe we were the operator and we want people to do it our way. And it's in order to be an effective leader, you have to learn how to delegate and coach and give and provide a framework. And it's not all about you. So what Lauren is talking about, like sharing opportunities and wins with your team, get a cohort together, get like a small tiger team together, have them help you, right? You as a leader move into this facilitator coach role and enable your other team members to start learning these new skills. People want to learn new skills. So again, that's part of the program, and we've built those coaching programs
And
with organizations before. Go ahead, Lauren.
one thing I was going to say to that too, that people under extreme pressure can't perform. One quick side note on that is, as leaders, if you're going into your everyday business life and world thinking that they are not going to misstep, that you are not going to misstep,
Yeah.
that you're going to go in and your day is going to go smoothly from the moment you walk into the moment you leave, and all the goals that you set out to achieve are going to happen.
Yeah.
You are sadly mistaken. And that's just the reality of being a leader.
Yeah.
When I'm talking to teams and I'm going in, mistakes will happen. One of the best
100%.
leaders I ever worked for 20 some years ago, it was a serving job I had in 04. He's like, you're going to drop a plate.
Mhm.
That is inevitable. You're going to misring an order. You're going to forget a salad. That is part of the business we're in. Now, for your business, what that misstep looks like might be different.
Yep.
But as leaders, it's not our job to chase people down and tell them that they messed up or they misstepped or something went wrong. Our job is to coach the recovery and to make sure we're there that they understand how to recover that moment, how to move past that moment, how to be better for that moment, because it's not a misstep as much as it is a learning moment, a developmental moment in their career. Um,
100%.
and we
Right.
can't go into it being some, Shrek in the corner. Well, I guess Shrek was kind of nice, but you can't be in the, like, how dare you? I mean, that's just bizarre, right? As
Yeah.
leaders, we know our team's going to mess up. It's up to us to make sure they have the parachute when they do.
You know what? And I love saying that, right? Because I think as leaders, sometimes we forget that and we're stuck on, oh crap, somebody did this incorrectly. And there's leaders that do this really well, to your point, like we call it the rupture and the recovery, right? And so things are going to happen, right? I was talking with a business leader who they did their banking at Silicon Valley Bank. And when that went under, there was a mad scramble to get funds, right? This is when marketing sends an email, a drip email marketing to somebody who you have an opportunity with, right? Things are going to happen. Nothing is perfect. It's all about remediation. And 9 times out of 10, thank God, the work we do, nobody's died. People might be upset, but we have to lean into that and take care of that. Right. So today, what we talked about is really understanding what success looks like. It's a common goal, common vision, common language. What is good goal writing and how do we do it? Right. Use your SMART goals. There's a ton of things out there. We'll make sure everybody has the slides here and articulate for yourself. You heard Lauren and I talk a lot about why we think it's important to have great goals for our team. Get together with your team, get together with your peers. Hopefully, if you're a leader, you've got a coach, you've got a tribe, right? That you're a part of, that you all tell each other the truth and you hear it. What's important to you and why? And then what does that foundation look like of how to drive results? Lauren?
Hands down. I mean, I will ask everybody this question 1,000 times over again. If your team's not inspired, if your team is not inspired about what your message or vision is for 2024, ask yourself why.
Yeah,
Are you delivering your goals and your message in an email and saying, yeah, they've got the message? Is that it? How are you inspiring your team today?
yeah,
How are you bringing them along in the journey with you? And I don't care if it is a sales representative on the floor or middle management or a CEO. Bring people along with you. And if they're not along with you, ask yourself what you can do in the next few weeks to bring them along with you.
100%. 100%. Couldn't agree more. I love that. So, as always, for those of you that have been around the Inside Sales by Design webinars, we always give you some action steps to go forward with, right? I'm a concrete thinker. I was on a call yesterday with a colleague of mine, and he was telling me about an event he's putting on. I'm like, oh, that sounds great. And there was just silence there. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, are you asking me to speak? I totally missed it because I am a concrete thinker and I don't want to assume, right? So, no ambiguity. Don't assume, right? It was a kind of embarrassing for me, but I'm like, I'm a concrete thinker. So like I don't read between the lines. I'm very bad at it. So next steps, identify your goals like we talked about. And we break it down into identify, specify, and execute, right? And we think about what are your identify your goals, specify your outcomes, and then execute through those working sessions and one-on-ones. And working sessions doesn't have to be something big, right? You can pull your team together in a Zoom call and do breakout rooms, right? It doesn't have to Lauren's point, don't overthink it, just do it. God bless Nike, right? And if you would like an outside coach, if you would like some help implementing a coaching program or an outside coach of some sort, we've got some coaching programs that would fit budgets. We know things are tight right now, but we can absolutely help you out with that. We also have an offer for you. So our offer for everybody right now is our annual planning document. We'll go through that with you here in just a second. A 30-minute strategy session for free with Lauren or myself. And then of course, we'll send you a copy of my book signed for you. And so you can see the value of that there and then how to get that offer. You're going to go ahead and connect with me on LinkedIn, book time with me. And if you don't necessarily aren't ready to kind of engage with us yet, that's okay too. You can still get the book, the stepped approach, systematize and onboard better, bring out the best in your people, covers a lot of what Lauren and I were talking about today. So we want to dive into that as our offer for everybody. Really quickly, we'll show you the annual plan. It's only 3 pages. For some of you, you might be looking in that upper right corner going, oh my gosh, page step 1, how many steps are there? Right? So some of you have done this in a variety of ways. This is another way that you can do it with their smart sheets. I want to call your attention though to this upper right that talks about what is this year's theme. So to Lauren's point, this might be a really great way to inspire and bring out the best in your team. Lauren, any thoughts on the whole theme component?
I love the theme component. I love that word, right? Because too often it makes you kind of take the mundane out of it.
Yeah.
When you have a theme,
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yep.
That sounds fun to me, and you're taking something that can be super like, oh my gosh, we've got to beat sales year over year. We've got to do this and guest satisfaction. We got to grow units. But when you have a theme to me, that sounds fun. That like sounds like something I want to be a part of, right?
100%.
So
Yep.
I think it puts a lot of substance to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, yeah, always have a theme. We talk about every team having a purpose statement. Our step two is this in this lower right corner. If you're following my mouse, it's what would I tell my younger self? Pretty much everybody I've ever talked to loves that question. And the final and third step is again, like we talked about, plotting out your goals for the next quarter. This is a super simple worksheet, everybody. It forces us to keep things simple and very specific. And I want to call out to our rules of engagement, no more than 3 milestones per quarter and actions must be associated, right? So, and if you're going to create an onboarding program or you're going to create a coaching program or you're going to create, going after a new market or whatever the case may be, I would say that that's probably the one and only thing you should do in a quarter because everybody else has a day job. All right. So that being said, I think we're going to wrap up for today. Lauren, parting words.
Well, I hope this will make sense to everybody, but I want to leave this with the team, right? Because I think goal writing can be elusive for a lot of teams. Like it seems really basic and it seems like maybe something we're doing. But all in all, the teams I've coached or talked to really don't have a good handle on it. And I was taught once that there are three reasons people don't do something. One, they don't want to. They just simply don't want to. Two, they physically can't, right? I know to score a touchdown, I need to throw the ball 50 yards down the road, to a receiver. I just can't throw a ball that far. And then the last one is they don't know how. They just don't know how. And maybe we just need to get with our team and figure maybe they just don't know how and they don't know where to start. So I just think starting that journey with your team and getting them on a good path to good goal writing, it's incredibly inspiring. It's incredibly rewarding to see teams take good goal writing and achieve them, and to see these Cinderella stories of businesses that didn't think they could achieve something, and then you revisit them and you're following up, and the quarters go by, and all of a sudden they're the success story, and life's easy, and their days are shorter, and their stress is lower, because they've all got a clear plan of success. If you have great goal writing, calmness in your professional life, it comes with it, to be quite honest. So
100%.
ask yourself, does my team just simply not know what to do? And if so, am I showing them what?
100%. Love those parting words. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Please make sure that you are connecting with myself and Lauren. If you would like to take us up on that offer, please do so. We look forward to talking with you soon. And in the meantime, make it a great day.
Bye.